I need to get this out there before I lose my nerve. What happened to me over the past 3 months in 99 Nights in the Forest isn't just about a Roblox game anymore. I think something followed me out. For those who don't know, 99 Nights in the Forest is this survival horror game where you're stranded in a cursed forest and have to survive encounters with the deer, this Wendigo-like creature that hunts you at night. The goal is simple: survive 99 in-game nights while searching for 4 missing children from a plane crash. Most players quit after a few nights because it's genuinely terrifying. 3 months ago, my friend Jake bet me $200 I couldn't complete the full 99 nights. Easy money, right? I'm a pretty experienced horror game player, and I figured I could handle some Roblox scares. I documented everything in a survival log because I'm thorough like that, and honestly, I wanted proof of my victory. I wish I'd never taken that bet. Started my challenge tonight. Spawned in with the basic survivor class near the central campfire. The atmosphere is immediately unsettling. The developers really nailed the audio design. You can hear every branch crack, every leaf rustle. The darkness beyond your campfire's light feels thick, almost tangible. Night 1 was standard tutorial stuff. Learn the basic mechanics, keep the fire burning, gather wood during the day, stay in the light at night. The deer appeared around 2 a.m., real time, just standing at the edge of my vision. Classic horror game, intimidation. Night 2 and 3 were more of the same. I'm already getting into a rhythm. This is going to be easier than I thought. The first weird thing happened on night 3. I was gathering wood near the crashed plane when I heard what sounded like a child crying. Now, the game has ambient audio, birds, wind, distant growls. But this was different. It sounded real, like actual recorded audio of a distressed child, not the typical game sound effects. I checked the game's audio settings, thinking maybe I had proximity chat enabled somehow, but everything was normal. I brushed it off, probably just really good sound design. I'm starting to notice patterns that don't match what other players report online. I've been lurking in the game's Discord and Reddit communities, comparing experiences. Everyone talks about the deer being predictable. It shows up, stalks you, disappears at dawn. Basic AI behavior. Mine doesn't act like that. Night 6, 3:17 a.m. The deer appeared behind me while I was crafting at my workbench. When I turned around, it was gone, but my campfire had dimmed significantly despite being fully fueled 5 minutes earlier. I added more wood, but it took 3 attempts to get the fire back to full strength. The game doesn't usually work like that. Night 7, 2:45 a.m. Heard footsteps circling my camp. Not the deer's heavy hoofbeats. These sounded like bare human feet on forest floor. I armed myself and searched the perimeter, but found nothing. The weird part? My character's stamina was draining while I was standing still, like I was experiencing actual anxiety. Night 8, 4:12 a.m. Woke up at my desk. I don't remember falling asleep while playing. The game was still running, showing "you died" screen, but my survival log showed I'd made it through the night successfully. The timestamp on my death was 3:33 a.m. exactly. I've never died at exactly 3:33 a.m. before, and I've been tracking everything. Night 9, 2:58 a.m. The crying started again, but this time I was prepared. I recorded my screen for 20 minutes. When I played it back, the crying wasn't there, just normal game audio, but I heard it clear as day while playing. Night 10, 3:21 a.m. Found a child's backpack near the river that wasn't there during my daytime exploration. It disappeared when I tried to interact with it. Checked online. No other players have reported finding random items that vanish on contact. I'm starting to think my game client might be corrupted somehow. Maybe some audio files got mixed up during download. I'll verify game files tomorrow. File verification didn't find any issues. I even reinstalled the game completely, still having weird experiences. Night 11, 1:47 a.m. Clear whispers coming from outside my campfire's light radius. Not game audio. These were actual words, though I couldn't make them out clearly. Sounded like multiple voices, including children. I turned my volume up to maximum and recorded again. Same result as before, nothing on the recording. I'm starting to think my headphones might be picking up radio interference. I switched to my backup pair. Night 13, 2:43 a.m. The whispers are getting clearer. Tonight I heard what sounded like "help us" and "don't leave us here." The children's crying is more frequent now, usually starting around 2:30 a.m. and lasting until dawn. It's becoming harder to focus on the actual game. My sleep schedule is completely screwed. I find myself staying up until 4-5 a.m. every night, even when I'm not playing. It's like my body is expecting something to happen during those hours. Night 16, 3:15 a.m. Major development. I saw my first shadow figure. Not the deer, not any game entity I recognize. It was human-shaped, child-sized, standing just outside the firelight. When I moved my camera to look directly at it, it darted behind a tree faster than any game animation I've seen. I'm familiar with the stone tape theory from my interest in paranormal investigation. The idea is that traumatic events can somehow be recorded into the environment and played back under the right conditions. Could a game environment theoretically act as a recording medium? It sounds crazy, but the developers did say the game was based on a true story. Night 19, 2:22 a.m. The shadow figures are multiplying. I count at least 4 now. 3 child-sized, 1 adult. They stay just at the edge of my vision, moving when I'm not looking directly at them. The adult figure is taller, wearing what looks like a pilot's uniform. I did some research on the real plane crash that inspired the game. Colombian Amazon, 2023. 4 indigenous children survived 40 days after their plane crashed, killing 3 adults including the pilot. The children were eventually rescued, but the psychological trauma must have been immense. What if the game developers didn't just base their story on this event? What if they somehow incorporated actual elements from it? Night 22, 3:33 a.m. Always 3:33 a.m. I've started tracking the timestamps more carefully, and the most intense activity always happens at exactly 3:33 a.m. That's the witching hour, according to paranormal investigators, the time when the veil between worlds is thinnest. Tonight at 3:33, all 4 shadow figures appeared simultaneously. They formed a circle around my campfire, just standing there. I couldn't move my character or access any menus. The game was completely frozen, except for the fire animation and ambient sounds. This lasted for exactly 3 minutes and 33 seconds. When control returned, my campfire was nearly dead, despite being at full strength, moments before. Night 25, multiple times. The activity is no longer limited to 3:33 a.m. Whispers throughout the night, shadow figures appearing and disappearing, cold spots that cause my character to shiver, not a normal game mechanic. I've started feeling physically cold while playing, even though my room temperature hasn't changed. I bought a basic EMF detector online. It's probably overkill, but I want to rule out electromagnetic interference affecting my equipment. It should arrive in a few days. The EMF detector arrived yesterday. I've been using it during my gaming sessions, and the readings are concerning. Night 28, 2:45 a.m. EMF spikes to 4.2 milligauss whenever the shadow figures appear. Normal household electronics typically read 12 mg. During the most intense whisper sessions, I'm getting readings up to 7.8 Metagori, which is well into the range that paranormal investigators associate with spiritual activity. I know EMF spikes can be caused by faulty wiring or electronic devices, so I tested extensively. The spikes only occur during specific game events, and they're localized to my desk area. Moving the detector 3 feet away drops the reading to normal levels. Night 30, 3:17 a.m. First direct interaction with a shadow figure. The child-shaped one approached my campfire and reached out toward my character. When it did, my real-world room temperature dropped significantly, from 72 degrees to 64 degrees in less than 30 seconds. My thermostat confirmed this wasn't imagination. Cold spots are one of the most commonly reported paranormal phenomena. The theory is that entities draw energy from their environment to manifest, causing localized temperature drops. But how could a video game cause actual environmental changes? Night 33. 1:52 a.m. I set up a second camera to record my physical space while playing. The footage shows visible condensation forming on my desk surface during the cold spots, and you can actually see my breath in the video during the most intense moments. The shadow figures are becoming more defined. I can make out details now. The pilot figure has torn clothing and visible injuries. The children appear to be wearing the same type of clothing described in news reports about the real crash victims. Night 35, 2:28 a.m. Heard my name being called. Not my username, not my character name, my actual real name. The voice sounded like a young girl, maybe 8 to 10 years old. She was speaking in Spanish, saying "Ayúdanos" repeatedly. Help us. I don't speak Spanish fluently, but I looked it up. The real crash victims were indigenous children who spoke Spanish as a second language. How would the game know my real name? How would it know to use Spanish? Night 37, 3:33 a.m. The whispers are becoming conversations. Multiple voices talking over each other, sometimes in Spanish, sometimes in what might be an indigenous language. I started recording these sessions with a separate audio device to see if they show up on non-computer equipment. They do. The recordings are faint but audible. I've uploaded a sample to SoundCloud, link removed for privacy. Listen for yourselves. The clarity improves if you use audio enhancement software. Night 40, 4:07 a.m., most significant event yet. All 4 shadow figures approached my campfire simultaneously and began interacting with game objects. I watched the pilot figure pick up items from my crafting table and hand them to the children. The items actually moved. This wasn't just visual effects. The game physics were responding to their actions. When dawn broke in-game, the figures didn't disappear gradually like before. They looked directly at my camera position and waved goodbye before vanishing instantly. I'm 40% through the challenge, but I'm starting to question whether I should continue. The activity is escalating too quickly, and I'm having trouble distinguishing between game events and whatever else is happening. Edit. November 4th, 2:17 a.m. Multiple people have messaged me asking about the audio recording. I want to clarify. I'm not trying to prove anything paranormal here. I'm just documenting what I'm experiencing. The recordings could have perfectly normal explanations that I haven't considered. That said, I had the audio analyzed by a friend who works in sound engineering. He found something interesting. The voices are coming from a different audio source than the game. They're not part of the game's audio stream. They're being recorded by my microphone as external sounds. But there's no one else in my house. I took a week break from the challenge after night 40, needed to process what was happening and do more research. The break didn't help. I kept experiencing the same phenomena even when not playing the game. Cold spots in my room at 3:33 a.m. EMF spikes, whispers in Spanish. Whatever's happening, it's no longer confined to the game. Night 41, 2:15 a.m. Return to the challenge tonight. The shadow figures were waiting for me at my campfire when I spawned in. They seemed excited, if that's the right word. The pilot figure pointed toward the forest and beckoned me to follow. I decided to try something. I spoke out loud, addressing them directly. "What do you want me to do?" The child-shaped figure immediately moved to my crafting table and began pointing at specific items. Wood, rope, cloth. She was trying to show me how to craft something specific. Following her guidance, I crafted a makeshift shelter. As soon as it was completed, all 4 figures gathered around it, and the whispers became a chorus of what sounded like, "Gracias," "Thank you," "Night," 43. 3:33 a.m. I've established a communication system. Speaking aloud during the game gets responses through the shadow figures' movements and the whisper voices. They understand English, but respond primarily in Spanish. Through this method, I've learned they are the victims from the plane crash, or representations of them. They've been trapped in the forest since the crash. They need help moving on to where they belong. The pilot feels responsible for protecting the children. The child who speaks most clearly is named Maria. She's taught me several Spanish phrases and seems to be acting as a translator for the others. Night 45, 1:58 a.m. Maria explained, through a combination of whispers and shadow figure charades, that they need me to visit specific locations in the game world, places that correspond to real locations from the crash site. They can't move on until someone acknowledges what happened to them there. This aligns with residual haunting theory. Traumatic events create psychic imprints that replay until resolved. But how could a Roblox game serve as a conduit for actual spirits? Unless... I did more research on the game's development. The studio head traveled to Colombia extensively during production, visiting the actual crash site and interviewing rescue workers. What if he inadvertently brought something back with him? Digital assets created at the real location, audio recordings made in the forest, even physical objects used as reference materials. Night 48, 2:43 a.m. started visiting the locations Maria indicated. Each site triggers intense activity. Temperature drops to near freezing. EMF readings spike above 10 mg, and the whispers become almost deafening. But after spending time at each location and acknowledging what happened there, the activity calms. At the crash site replica, I found a hidden memorial the developers included. 4 small crosses with the real children's names. It's not mentioned in any walkthrough or wiki. When I interacted with it, all 4 shadow figures appeared and knelt around the memorial. The pilot figure looked directly at me and clearly said, "Thank you," in English. Night 52, 3:15 a.m. The nature of the activity is changing. Instead of seeking help, the figures are now trying to help me. They point out hidden resources, warn me when the deer is approaching, and even seem to provide protection during the most dangerous encounters. Maria has become my primary guide. She's learned more English phrases and can hold basic conversations now. She told me her family is waiting for her, but she won't leave until the bad thing is gone from the forest. I think the bad thing is the deer monster. Night 55, 4:22 a.m. Breakthrough discovery. The deer isn't just a game boss, it's something else entirely. Maria and the others are terrified of it, hiding whenever it appears. Their shadow forms become agitated, and the whispers turn to panicked prayers. During tonight's encounter with the deer, my EMF detector went haywire. Readings jumped to over 15 mWh, and the device started emitting a high-pitched whine. The temperature in my room dropped to 58 degrees Celsius instantly. But here's the strangest part. When the deer looked directly at my camera position, I felt something. Not through the game, not psychologically. I felt an actual presence in my room. Cold, malevolent, hungry. I think the deer is what's been preventing the crash victims from moving on. And somehow, through this game, I've become involved in their spiritual conflict. Night 60, 3:33 a.m. Maria warned me tonight. She said the deer is getting stronger because it knows I'm helping them. She's worried it might try to follow me home. I laughed and reminded her that I'm already home. This is just a game. She looked sad and shook her head. No es solo un juego, she whispered. It's not just a game. That's when I realized the shadow figures aren't appearing in the game anymore. They're standing in my actual room, visible without the computer screen. I can see them clearly now. Maria, the pilot, whose name is Carlos, and 2 other children, Sophia and Miguel. They're as real as anything else in my room, though they appear slightly translucent and emit a faint, cold light. They're not confined to my gaming sessions anymore. They're here constantly, trying to warn me about something. Night 62, 2:17 a.m. The deer appeared in my room for the first time. Not in the game, in my actual physical space. I was taking a break from playing when the temperature suddenly plummeted and my EMF detector started screaming alerts. It materialized in the corner opposite my desk, exactly like the game model, but somehow more real, more substantial. The smell hit me first, rotting meat and damp earth, then the sound of its breathing, like wind through a cave. Maria and the others immediately positioned themselves between me and the deer, their forms becoming more solid as they focused their energy on protection. The standoff lasted maybe 30 seconds before the deer dissolved back into shadow. Carlos appeared beside my chair and spoke directly into my ear. It knows you can see us now. Be careful. Night 64, 3:33 a.m. Poltergeist activity has started. Objects in my room move without explanation. My coffee mug sliding across the desk, books falling from shelves, my bedroom door opening and closing. At first, I thought it was the deer, but Maria explained that it's actually the children trying to get my attention. They're becoming more powerful as our connection strengthens, but they're also becoming more desperate. Sophia keeps pointing at my calendar and holding up fingers. She's trying to tell me something about the remaining nights. Through our improved communication, I learned that I only have until night 99 to help them resolve whatever's keeping them here. If I don't complete the challenge, or if I quit before then, they'll be trapped forever and the deer will be free to do something worse. Night 67, 1:45 a.m. I tried to quit the game tonight. I'd had enough. The physical manifestations, the constant cold, the feeling of being watched 24/7. I clicked the exit button and closed Roblox. The game immediately reopened itself. My character was still in the forest, and the shadow figures were surrounding my campfire, looking distressed. Maria's voice came through my speakers, crystal clear. Please don't leave us. I tried to shut down my computer entirely. It restarted on its own and launched Roblox automatically. Every time I tried to exit or play a different game, I was pulled back to 99 nights in the forest. I'm trapped in this just as much as they are. Night 70, 2:33 a.m. The deer is getting more aggressive. It appears in my room nightly now, each time staying longer and getting closer. Tonight it manifested right beside my bed while I was trying to sleep. I felt its breath on my face, cold and fetid, like breathing through a corpse. When I opened my eyes, its face was inches from mine, those empty eye sockets boring into me. I couldn't move, couldn't scream. Classic sleep paralysis, except I was fully awake. Carlos intervened, placing himself between us and somehow forcing the deer to retreat. But the effort weakened him visibly. His form became more translucent afterward. It's feeding, he told me later, growing stronger while we grow weaker. Night 73, 3:17 a.m. I understand now why the children can't leave. The deer isn't just a monster. It's their fear made manifest, their trauma, their terror during those 40 days in the forest, given form and purpose. As long as it exists, they can't move on. And it exists because they're afraid to let go of the only reality they've known since the crash. Survival mode, constant vigilance, never being safe. They need someone to prove that it's possible to survive all 99 nights, to show them that the forest doesn't have to be a place of endless terror. Only then can they release their fear and find peace. But the deer knows this too. It's trying to stop me, to keep them afraid, to maintain its existence. Night 75, 4:44 a.m. Major escalation. The deer didn't just appear tonight, it attacked. I was playing normally when my screen suddenly went black and something slammed into my desk, sending my keyboard and mouse flying. The entity materialized fully in my room, more solid than ever before. It grabbed my chair and threw it across the room, then lunged at me with those razor-sharp antlers. The children intervened as a group, their combined energy creating a barrier of light that forced the deer back. But the attack left physical evidence. Claw marks in my desk, my chair broken against the wall, and a smell of decay that took hours to fade. I'm starting to think this might actually kill me. To everyone asking if I've contacted the police or tried to leave my house, yes, I've tried both. I filed a report about the property damage. But how do you explain claw marks that appear while you're alone in a locked room? As for leaving, I tried staying at my friend Jake's place, the one who made the bet. The phenomena followed me there. Jake experienced it firsthand: cold spots, whispers, shadow figures. After the deer appeared in his living room and terrified his dog, he asked me to leave. Whatever's happening, it's attached to me now. The only way forward is through. 2 weeks left. The activity has reached a level I never thought possible. My house feels more like a battleground than a home. Night 76, 12:15 a.m. The deer no longer waits for 3:33 a.m. It appears randomly throughout the night, testing the children's defenses, looking for weaknesses. Each attack is more violent than the last. Tonight, it materialized in my kitchen while I was making coffee. The temperature drop was so sudden that the hot coffee instantly developed a layer of ice. The entity swept everything off my counters, shattering dishes and throwing utensils. When I backed toward the living room, it cut off my escape route, herding me toward the basement door. Carlos appeared and shouted a warning. "Don't go down there. It's trying to separate us. The basement has become the deer's territory somehow. The children refuse to follow me down there, and I can feel the malevolent presence growing stronger near that door." Night 78, 2:45 a.m. I'm losing time. Periods where I'm playing the game but have no memory of what happened. I'll be exploring the forest normally. Then suddenly, it's 3 hours later, and I'm in a completely different location with no recollection of how I got there. During these blackouts, Maria says I act differently, more aggressive, less responsive to their attempts at communication. She's worried the deer is somehow influencing me during these episodes. I've started setting timers and taking photos of my screen every 30 minutes to track what happens during the lost time. Night 80, 3:33 a.m. Breakthrough and terror in equal measure. During tonight's blackout, I apparently made significant progress in the game. I found and rescued 2 of the 4 missing children NPCs. When I regained awareness, both Maria and Sophia seemed more solid, more present. But the photos from my timer show something horrifying. During the blackout, it wasn't me controlling my character. The screenshots show impossible movements, inhuman reaction times, and perspectives that suggest someone else was playing. Someone or something else is taking control during these episodes, and it's actually helping complete the game. But at what cost? Night 82, 1:23 a.m. The blackouts are getting longer and more frequent. I lost nearly 6 hours tonight. When I came back to awareness, I'd rescued the 3rd child NPC and made significant progress toward finding the 4th. Maria is almost completely solid now, no longer translucent. She can interact with physical objects in my room, moving papers, adjusting my lamp, even typing messages on my keyboard when I'm not looking. But she's terrified. "It's almost time," she keeps saying. "When you save the last one, everything changes." Night 85, 4:17 a.m. I know what's going to happen on night 99. The children have finally explained the full situation. The deer isn't just their fear. It's a spiritual parasite that feeds on trauma and terror. It attached itself to them during the crash and has been feeding on their anguish ever since. The game somehow became a bridge between their spiritual prison and our world. When I rescue the fourth child NPC and complete the game, the spiritual connection will be severed. The children will be free to move on, but the deer will be trapped in our reality, in my reality, with no way back. It will need a new host to survive. Night 87, 2:58 a.m., the final blackout episode. I lost 12 hours, from 2:58 a.m. until nearly 3 p.m. the next day. When I regained control, the fourth child had been rescued and I was at 98% completion. One night left. Maria and the others are fully manifested now, as real as living people, but they're saying goodbye, preparing to leave. Carlos shook my hand tonight. His grip was firm and warm, completely physical. "We'll try to take it with us," he promised. "But if we can't, you have to be strong. Don't let it win." The deer has been absent since the final rescue, but I can feel it building strength somewhere, preparing for tomorrow night. Night 90, 11:59 p.m. I've been stalling, refusing to start night 99, but I can't put it off any longer. The children are growing weaker as they expend energy maintaining their physical forms. If I wait too long, they won't have the strength to help me when the final confrontation comes. I've prepared as much as possible. EMF detector, thermometer, camera recording, everything. Audio equipment, even salt lines around my desk. Probably useless, but worth trying. I've documented everything and uploaded it to cloud storage in case something happens to me. If you're reading this and I haven't posted an update, assume the deer won. Tell people what happened here. Don't let anyone else make the same mistake I did. This is it. Final night. The children are gathered around my desk, more solid and real than they've ever been. Maria is holding my hand. Her grip is warm and reassuring, but I can feel her trembling. "Whatever happens," she tells me, "remember we're grateful. You gave us hope." I start the final night sequence. My character appears at the central campfire with all the rescued children NPCs safe in the shelter I built. The game UI shows Night 9999, survive until dawn to complete your challenge. 12:15 a.m. Everything seems normal so far. No sign of the deer in-game or in my room. The temperature is stable at 72 degrees. EMF readings are baseline. Maybe it's going to be easier than I thought. 12:43 a.m. Spoke too soon. The game audio cut out completely, replaced by absolute silence. The visual remains normal, but the lack of sound is somehow more unsettling than any scary noise could be. Carlos points toward my window. It's coming. 1:17 a.m. First manifestation. The deer appears at the edge of my campfire's light in-game, but it's also materializing in my room simultaneously. Dual presence, growing stronger in both realities. Temperature dropping rapidly. EMF detector is screaming warnings. The children form a protective circle around me, their combined light pushing back against the encroaching darkness. 4 a.m. The entity is speaking. Not words exactly, but I can understand its meaning directly in my mind. It's angry, desperate, hungry. It knows this is its last chance to maintain existence. It offers me a deal. Stop the game now. Let the children remain trapped, and it will let me live. Refuse, and it will take me with it when the connection severs. The children are begging me to accept. They don't want me to die for them. I refuse the deal. 33 a.m. all-out spiritual warfare. The deer is attacking with everything it has, manifesting as multiple entities, the Wendigo form, shadow figures, even taking the appearance of my deceased relatives to try to confuse me. My room is a maelstrom of paranormal activity, objects flying through the air, temperature fluctuating wildly, electronics shorting out and sparking. The children are fighting back, but they're being overwhelmed. Sophia disappears first, her light extinguished by the deer's assault. Then Miguel. The entity is consuming them to fuel its final attack. 17 a.m. Only Maria and Carlos remain. They're both flickering, their forms becoming unstable. But dawn is approaching in-game. Just 43 more minutes to survive. The deer realizes it's running out of time. It abandons subtlety and attacks me directly, its claws raking across my back. I can feel the physical wounds, warm blood soaking through my shirt. Carlos interposes himself between us, taking the full force of the deer's next attack. His form shatters like glass, dissolved into fragments of light that fade into nothing. Maria is alone now, barely visible, using the last of her strength to maintain a protective barrier. 3:33 a.m., the witching hour, the final confrontation. The deer manifests in its most powerful form yet, not the game model, but something far more terrible. Ancient, primal, hungry. It towers over me, antlers scraping my ceiling, eyes like black holes that seem to pull at my very soul. Maria can't hold it back anymore. She looks at me one last time, tears streaming down her translucent face. "I'm sorry," she whispers. "We tried." Her form begins to dissolve, but something happens that none of us expected. 45 a.m. The game completes. Dawn breaks in 99 Nights in the Forest, and the victory screen appears. Challenge complete. You survived. 99 nights. The moment the screen changes, everything stops. The deer freezes mid-attack, its form wavering. The spiritual connection it was using to maintain its presence in our reality snaps like a severed cable. It lets out a sound like tearing metal and imploding stars, then collapses into shadow and is gone. The children reappear, all 4 of them, solid and glowing with warm light. They're smiling, no longer afraid. The burden they've carried for so long has finally been lifted. They're leaving now. One by one, they fade into the light, finally able to move on to wherever spirits go when they find peace. Maria is the last to go. She hugs me, a real, physical embrace, and whispers, "Gracias, hermano." Thank you, brother. Then she's gone, and I'm alone in my room. The temperature returns to normal. The EMF detector goes silent. The oppressive feeling of being watched lifts like fog in sunlight. It's over. Jake paid me the $200. I told him I earned every penny, but I didn't tell him how. I've tried playing other Roblox games since last night. Everything works normally. No supernatural interference, no strange phenomena. Whatever connection existed between that game and the spiritual realm has been permanently severed. The claw marks on my back are real and healing slowly. I have photos of all the physical damage to my room, the EMF readings, the temperature logs, everything. But I'm not sharing them publicly. Some things are too dangerous to spread around. I learned later that the developers of 99 Nights in the Forest announced they're shutting down the game permanently next month. Technical issues they claim, but I think they know something went wrong. Something they never intended when they created their based on a true story horror experience. If you're thinking about taking on a similar challenge in any horror game, especially ones claiming to be based on real events, please reconsider. Some doors shouldn't be opened, and some connections shouldn't be made. The dead need our help sometimes, but they also need our caution. Stay safe out there.